Welcome to Botanical Trails Through the Juniper Forest. I'm your host, Brian Heater. Each week, I'll have a different guest join me to explore a pair of interesting gins. We'll chat a little bit about the gin and the distilleries, throw in a bit of trivia, hopefully laugh a bit, and then we'll go off the beaten path. Although I say that this is a podcast about gin, really this is just an excuse for me to spend time with my friends. But that'll just be our secret. Okay, let's start exploring. My guest for episode 12 is one of my sisters, Laurie Heater. Laurie, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, happy to be here.
Yeah, so you just found out what gins we were going to do. You didn't want to know before, so you came up to the offices of Botanical Trails and found out that we are today doing Scottish gins.
Yeah.
And the reason is that we are part Scottish. Actually, up until I was 5 and you were 3 by the time we moved out, but we lived under our great-grandfather, Baba, who is Scottish. And these are a couple of Scottish gins that I've tried that I really liked, and then I just found out that you have not tried either of these, so This will be kind of a fun little go.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the first gin we are trying today is Edinburgh gin. It is their classic edition. I've made just a normal gin and tonic. I made it according to the way that they say to best serve it, which is I use Mediterranean Fever Tree tonic. They said just to use a good tonic and then a little squirt of orange. So that's what we have done for this. So go ahead and give that a try. Cheers.
Thanks for coming. Cheers. Tasty.
Yeah, that's delicious. So this is the first time I've never tried it with the squeeze of orange. I didn't realize that until I actually kind of did my little bit of homework on this one. So
right, yeah.
And I think we'll discover why they recommend doing it with the orange.
Man, that's that's going to go down fast.
Yeah, this is a really I really enjoy this gin. So this gin, Edinburgh gin, it came out in 2010. So their London Dry was their first gin. They like to say that it represents the city. So it has heady notes of pine buds and lavender, mulberries that echo the city's Gothic surroundings, and then the effervescence of citrus fruits, which are imported from warmer climates through their docks. So I think that's why they recommend going with the orange as a garnish for it. So this gin has won multiple awards, and the distillery, Ian MacLeod Distillers, they purchased Edinburgh Distillers in 2013. They actually have 2 distilleries now. So they have their West End Distilling, and then they have their Leith Distillery, which opened in 2016 in a former biscuit factory. So, and the West End one is where they focus on kind of doing their limited edition gins. They actually have 19 varieties of gin that they make, and at least 8 flavored liqueurs. So
nice.
Yes. So I haven't seen any of their other gins, I don't think, off the top of my head, but 19 varieties, that's like one of the most different varieties of gin that I've seen one distillery.
Yeah, I was going to say, you see a few flavors, but I've not. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. So, and then I did a little bit of homework. I reached out to our dad's cousin, Sherry Kenville.
Oh,
and yep, and she had sent me some information from where like our family in Scotland came from, and it ends up they're sort of like in between where these 2 distilleries are. So Edinburgh is just right in Edinburgh, and then the other one that we're going to do later is like up in the northern highlands. So,
gotcha.
And where kind of our ancestors come from, they're sort of like a little north of Edinburgh, but definitely not far up as north as the Scottish Highlands. So that's sort of where they come from. And as our mom ended up getting us all different genetic testing for Christmas this year, we confirmed that we are definitely Scottish.
Right, so. Right.
Now, you've been to Scotland before, right?
Yeah, and actually Edinburgh. So that's really, I kind of forgot about that side of the family. I mean, from that heritage, and I love that city. That is such a nice.
How many times have you been there?
Just once.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I think we piggybacked it off of a trip to England when we saw Sarah and Guy and their family.
Yep.
Spent like a week with them and then bopped up, took the train. Actually, it was lovely because we took the train out of London to Edinburgh. So it's, I don't know, I can't remember if it was like a 3.5-4 hour train ride. So it's right along.
That wouldn't be too bad.
The coastline. It's super nice.
That'd be amazing. And how long did you get to spend up there?
And we spent a week up there.
Oh, did you golf?
We did not, but we did walk St. Andrew's course. So,
oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
Apparently,
like you snuck on, or
we jumped the fence. Actually, come to find out, over in the UK, it is not uncommon for people to just walk right on the course as people are playing, which is not anything like here in America.
Oh.
Where, it's
like is there a reason for that, or?
I think that it's just public courses, and
so it's just seen as like public land and anybody can just go
and they obviously ask you be aware of the people playing, just don't walk down the fairway as they're trying to
have your iPods in and not paying attention.
Right. But it was we went on the old course, and I guess in order to play we didn't really research it that well ahead of time because it is a long list of obviously people wanting to play on the course. So
I'm sure
if you just arrive like we did that day, it was no way that we were going to get on the course. But the cool thing is that I didn't realize right near St. Andrews is where they filmed some of the beach during Chariots of Fire.
Oh, really?
The running, yeah. When they're running along the beach, there's actually a plaque up there.
I'm trying to remember from that movie, was one of the runners Scottish then that was in that movie?
I remember seeing that back.
I saw it when I was in St. 8.
We used to walk down to the Bijou Theater.
Right. But did they take us as school kids to go see that? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that was really interesting.
That was kind of cool that they would take us down there to watch movies.
Yeah.
Because we saw
I remember watching that and
Black
Gandhi.
Stallion. Yeah.
And then Gandhi.
Yep. Yeah, so it was so we spent most of our time in Edinburgh because it's just a really nice walkable city. And then we took a day trip up to where St. Andrews was and back. So it was a nice trip.
Oh, so St. Andrews is a little outside of Edinburgh?
Yeah, a little bit north, I think, of Edinburgh, if I remember correctly. I forgot what actual little town it's in, but...
Yeah, there's it sounds like a county or something up there called Fife, or Fife. Fife, it's Fife, but it sounds like that's where a good chunk of our... ancestors came from, out of that area. Yeah. So maybe that's why you like golf.
Maybe. I didn't like golf growing up.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it now, for sure.
That's good. Well, you're the anomaly in the family, so that's okay. Yeah. No. So what else, anything else about Edinburgh or Scotland stick out that you really enjoyed?
I mean, the people, anywhere that we've gone in the UK, the people are lovely. I mean, they've always been so helpful when we obviously look like lost travelers. And we look, I don't know, every time we go to the UK, I need to knock on wood or something here because, they're always known for their gray, rainy days, but all my trips over to England and Scotland and even Ireland, I mean, you got a rainy day here or there, but for the most part, the weather's been really nice. So, I don't know, the travel gods look fondly on me, I suppose.
Well, that's good. And so when you were in Scotland then, did you stay at a hotel or were you in an Airbnb? Or?
Yeah, a VRBO.
Okay.
Yep, so it was a little town, I don't know if I would even call it a townhouse. It was a little apartment, looked right out into some of the, not the main city, we were kind of outside the main city, but very easy to walk, and get around that way. I mean, I don't know how many miles we put on on the step Fitbit stuff, but
I've heard that city, Edinburgh's super cool. Yeah, so I'd like to go there.
And the food, I enjoy the food over there, and the beer is nice over there. We did do a little whiskey tasting while we were there. So, and
enjoy some of that peatiness.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so actually, that reminds me, I know in some of your earlier episodes you said to properly appreciate the botanicals of gin, you add a couple of drops of water.
That's what they say. I've yet to do it. But yes, I've been told that's a good way to do it.
Interestingly enough, Todd and I were able to visit Dublin as well over the years, and we went on a whiskey tour with a tour guide that we hit 3 different pubs and tried 2 or 3 different whiskeys at each one, like just little portion sizes. But for whiskey, he said the same thing, because he had like a straw, so we had some glasses of water, and he said actually to help release some of the aromatics of whiskey, he used a straw to just kind of capture some water and a few drops in the glass that we were. So he had us do that.
Yeah.
And it did. I mean, you could taste the difference.
Sure.
So,
yeah. I mean, that sort of. I mean, yeah, that totally makes sense. Like, I don't drink a ton of whiskey, but when I do, I enjoy it like just over the rocks.
And I enjoy Irish whiskey way more than Scottish.
Yeah, I would tend to lean that way. It's
just a little bit sweeter. Doesn't seem to burn as much.
And the peatiness, like I just can't like. It's that's definitely just not like in my palate.
No, now Todd likes the peatiness.
Oh yeah,
he likes that.
Yeah, but he also likes Burger King French fries over McDonald's. So he's, he's a nice guy, but there's things about him I just don't understand.
Yeah, so that was fun. And it was funny too because we booked that tour I think on one of TripAdvisor things. So it was a walking tour, walk around Dublin. And I think it was intended to be like a group of 6 or 8, but that day it was just me and Todd with this tour guide.
That's always cool when you get to do.
Yeah, so we had that nice one-on-one, all about us.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about like when you were in Scotland? Were the accents like super thick, or was it pretty easy to like understand the folks up there?
They can be. I mean, there were times that were. What did you just say? But I don't know. I don't know if it's. I seem to be able to hear through the accent, I think, a little bit better than Todd. But, I mean, if you get somebody that's super heavy, it's just I mean, it'd be like somebody down in, swamplands of Georgia talking, like some Creole type thing going on. You're like, what are you saying? But I haven't had too much difficulty, understanding. And that's one of the nice things visiting the UK. I mean, they speak supposedly English. So you don't have to worry about the translation issues.
Yeah, for sure, yes.
Or speaking a different language, which is, I think, makes it nice traveling over there. Yeah,
sort of the same thing like when we went to Australia, right? I mean, you're in a different country, but it's so much easier than...
Yeah.
Just way easier than Japan.
Yeah, because you guys talked about that in the Alyssa's episode.
When you end up like somewhere and you're like in Tokyo, it's not bad, but once you're outside of Tokyo, you're really like, you're out of luck. So. Yeah,
and that's intimidating.
Yeah, but I found the same thing in Italy. Like, so in Japan, the interesting thing was they teach English like in high school. So people like want to come up to you and like practice. But then when I was in Italy, like no one knew English. I mean, not no one, but like most people, the average person didn't know English. And it's because they don't really teach it. What they teach is French in high school. And I think it's so that if you were to go to war with France, you'll just know when they surrender really easily. So, no, I'm just kidding. But
and that was probably Lucca, right? When you were...
when I was in Lucca. Yeah. And for whatever reason, people would come up. I don't know. It's been... I don't know. I must have a trusting face or something. But, like, strangers will just come up and they'll start asking me questions. But it would be, like, in Italian. And I was like... No, perché...
No, sprechen.
Yeah, no capisco. No capisco. Yeah, so... mi dispiace. Sono americano.
Yeah.
Parle l'inglese. And then they'd be like, and then they'd like walk away and I'm like, sorry, I can't help you. So.
Like, one of them.
Yeah. So I was like, but Scotland is definitely a place I would like to go and visit in the future.
I think you would really enjoy it.
Yeah. I'd sort of like to do what you did, like a little UK swing, like hit like London, Edinburgh, Dublin. Like I think that would be a super fun, interesting trip. Like take a good week and a half to 2 weeks to like go see all that.
Yeah. Yeah, because our Dublin trip was again a separate trip when we went and visited Sarah and family, and again, did the same thing. Spent a week at their house, or can't remember if we were at a hotel at that time, but and then flew over to Dublin for a week.
Yeah, and for our 3 listeners, Sarah is your former college roommate,
yes,
who is half American, half English. Currently lives in London. Thanks to her, we got introduced to the Distillers of Surrey, which was the gin I had on episode 1. And you showed up and surprised me with another bottle of it today, which was great because she had recently been home. So
right, yeah, it was great to see her. It's kind of surreal seeing her in the States because she hasn't really been back too often since moving over there. I think it was 2004-ish that she went back to England, and and the nice thing was during this last trip, she built in some extra time afterwards and was able to go visit her parents, who are both here in the States and Virginia.
Oh, they're living in the States now? Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because they have gone back and forth a couple of times, but now they're residing in the States. And her brother, David, is still here as well.
And she and her husband are both actors.
Correct.
And then didn't he have a bit part in something sort of like, was it Game of Thrones or something like that?
He did. He had like a little cameo that we didn't know about, and he popped up, and it was like, oh my God, there's Guy!
That's pretty cool.
And then Sarah's done some commercials. She's done, and she's had some like little bit parts too. So, every now and again they're in something that we're able to see here in the States. And
yeah, that's awesome.
It's always kind of neat seeing them on the screen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great. How do you feel about the first round of trivia?
All right. Yeah.
Okay. And you decided you would go first, so I will ask you first in today's episode. So,
I'm intimidated by these things.
You have a 50% chance.
Oh, I got a true and false. Thank God.
Well, it's not true and false, but but you'll figure this. I mean, I don't know that you'll get it right, but you'll know.
I don't know. I don't want to be like Jim, talk myself out of the right answer.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Hi, Jim.
Okay. Which of these is the name of a gin by J.J. Whitley? Dandelion or Nettle Gin?
How about the Nettle Gin?
That is correct.
Oh.
Now, did you just guess, or there's a
no.
Oh, okay. Well, good guess.
I don't know. I was like, Nettle just sounds more intriguing than Dandelion. That was my thought process.
Although, I think it was 2 episodes ago when Scott was on, one of the gins we tried, I think, had dandelion as a botanical.
Yes, I think I remember that, because you can eat them.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, I think you can. So,
I mean, once they, when they're in the yellow flower phase.
Yes. Well, I completely demolished that drink.
Yeah, you did.
So, we'll take a little break, and then we'll come back for round 2. All right, we are back for segment 2, and as we almost always traditionally do, we are going to give the gins a little bit of a try, and we have also decided today that we're going to do a little experiment, and we are going to try a sip of each first, just straight, and then second with a little droplet of water.
Yeah, little experiments going on.
Yes, so, all right, this is Edinburgh.
All right.
Give this a little sip and see what you think.
Wow, that's really nice.
A little citrusy, but not like too much.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Adding our drop of water.
Drops of water, so maybe give it a little swirl or something.
Swirl. All right.
And then see if there's much difference. Maybe I didn't have enough water. We'll see.
Yeah, there is a slight difference.
Yeah. It's almost a little more like, I don't know, aromatic or something. Like, I don't know.
Botanicals are effervescing. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what the definition would be, but it was certainly like a little different. So
that is delicious.
Yes, that is
I never do
really good gin
straight.
Well, yeah, I mean,
some people do it on the rocks, but I have not tried that.
Yep. All right. Our second gin today, another Scottish gin, is called Rock Rose Gin. And so we are going to give that a little sip first to try. And then, again, gin and tonic with the Mediterranean Fever Tree tonic. And then they said to garnish with just a little orange peel. I'm using like little mandarins or something, so they're really little orange peels, but we'll see how that goes. Yes.
We have the orange peel.
So here's the rock rose. So let's give this one a little try.
I am excited to try this one.
Definitely a little bit different flavor profile.
Yeah, and it has like a silkiness to it.
All right. Here's a few drops of water if I'm... Oop, jeez.
Oh, well,
all right, well, that ruined that. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Oh, it does kind of smooth it out almost, even a couple drops of water.
Yeah, it is. That is pretty cool how that...
But it's definitely a little... I mean, I like them both, but it's definitely a slightly different flavor profile.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll give the little gin and tonic a try, and then I will tell folks about the gin in the distillery.
Yeah, I'm wondering, with rose in the name, is there rose in here?
Not rose, but you'll see where it gets its name. So,
because I was almost... Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah.
Because part of me was like, oh, is this another, like, elderflower contender?
Oh.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we will have to try that with elderflower.
We might have to do another Jim and Brian episode and do 3.
Well, there's more. Well, and it's also like there's like a lot of other good Scottish gins. Like the Botanist is a really good gin.
Oh my gosh, that bottle
I got you that for your birthday.
Me?
Yeah, because I learned about that one in the New Yorker like years ago. That was good. And then there's that bottle. Oh, the gin we just tried Sunday for after Mother's Day. When I was like, if you know what this gin is, this is going to be the secret. It was the Scottish gin that's downstairs. It's like a Curran. I'd have to look it up, but it starts with a C, but it's downstairs. It was the one I brought home. One of the ones I brought home for Christmas. So, Rock Rose Gin. This came out in 2014. They are located up in the Highlands of Scotland.
Okay.
This has 18 botanicals.
Nice.
5 of which are grown and foraged locally. And on the distillery's website, they highlight 3 of them. So one is called Sea Buckthorn.
Okay.
One is Rhodelia rosea, also known as the Arctic root. The name means a rose in the rocks. And the gin gets its name from this.
Okay.
They came across it on their first botanical forage along the cliffs of kind of like where they're located. And then they actually use 2 types of juniper in this. One from Bulgaria and then one from Italy.
Wow.
So, on the bottle, they call their gin one of nature's little treats. They describe it as flavorful and fresh, zesty yet berryful, with a long, smooth finish.
I can definitely, when we did the straight up, that was very smooth. Silky.
So the distillery is called Dunnet Bay Distillery. They're located in the county of Caithness in the Bay of Dunnet. So, and again, this is up in the Highlands of Scotland.
Okay.
It's known for the harsh weather up there.
No doubt.
And the area hosts some plants that can only be found there. One of which is this Rhodelia rosea, or another thing that I just can't pronounce correctly. So, but when I was researching the distilleries, a few interesting facts about this distillery popped up. So one of their ethos is sustainability for the distillery. So they generate their own electricity using solar panels on the distillery roof.
In Scotland and the Highlands.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but the other thing that I found super interesting, they offer the first gin to be available in fully recyclable pouches in the UK.
Oh.
So you can order like a pouch of their gin. So think of like a Capri Sun. No, think of like a Capri Sun, but like something like that, but their gin. And then you can just return it via the Royal Mail to the distillery, and then it just gets upcycled into a new item.
Kudos to that.
Yeah, so I thought that was like super fascinating.
Nice.
And then another thing is I noticed that they tend to have a dog on their staff all the time. So currently it's Mr. McIntosh, and he is a distillery apprentice. So, They make 13 gins, and they do a number of different styles. So they do an Old Tom gin, a slow gin, and they also have a Navy strength gin.
Wow. So another distillery that has like a
yeah, they do 30. Yeah, so between these two distilleries today, you could do 22 gins. I could do 11 episodes just between these two distilleries.
Sounds like a goal.
If I went over there and actually brought all the gins back.
Maybe I can see if Sarah can hook us up.
Yeah. And then they also make vodka and rum.
Oh, wow.
And then they said the best way to enjoy this is either a gin and tonic garnished with a sprig of rosemary.
Okay.
Which I did not have. Or a curl of orange. So I did the little orange. So that is Rock Rose Gin. And as you'll see, if you go out to the Instagram for the website, they have like it's like a solid bottle. It's not glass. It's I'm not sure what it is, but it's I don't know, ceramic or maybe not ceramic. But anyhow, it's like a solid thing. It's kind of cool. So yeah. So that is our second gin today. I got introduced to this gin by my buddy Jerry, who is a guest on episode 1. Yeah, he brought this. Yep. He's like, hey, try this, and I really liked it. And so anyhow, it was fun to get to introduce both of these new gins to
you today. And I applaud them for their sustainability. So yeah,
it was super interesting. Like those pouches
and for having
they have pictures of them, like like if you're in the UK, you could just order it, and then they send it to you in the pouch, and then you just like
send it back
when
you're done. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
And I like the fact they have a dog on staff.
Yeah, that was hilarious. So this is, if I remember from my research, this is the second dog that they have on staff. So it's kind of funny. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
But they had a really nice, well-done website that just kind of talked about it. And that's how I learned about everything. So,
yeah, no,
so good stuff.
Yeah, this is really, really good.
So doing these just makes me think of, do you remember, like, man, I can't think of what the character's name was, but when we were kids growing up, when Mike Myers was on the cast of Saturday Night Live, and he had that character that, like, ran a shop that only sold, like, Scottish items, like things from Scotland.
Oh,
and he'd always be like, if it's not Scottish, it's crap. And that was like the thing, and just I don't know why, but that like just stuck in my head when I was like preparing for this episode, and I was like, I should title this one, if it's not Scottish, it's crap.
He had some really, in fact, earlier today, I was thinking of his character, I can't remember the character, when he says, I'm getting a little verklempt.
Oh,
and he's like,
from Coffee Talk.
Yes, Coffee Talk. Oh my gosh. And he would give like a subject for people to discuss while he collected himself.
Yes, so funny. Or, did you ever see his movie, I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yes. Great.
So funny.
I haven't seen it in years.
And like he plays like his grandfather, who's also like super Scottish, and anyhow, just so funny. That was a good era of Saturday Night Live when you had Mike Myers, Dana Carvey. Yeah, who else was in there? I think
Al Franks was part of that.
Kevin Nealon, I think, was in that group at that time. Yep. I mean, yeah, there's been different like iterations of that SNL cast when you're just like, oh man, these guys are so funny. Like right now, like every now and then they just like strike gold. Oh,
yeah.
And it's just like, do you remember like growing up when we'd say at D's and when Eddie Murphy was on the cast, and she was like, and she would go to bed early, like 10:30, 11, but we got to stay up. And Saturday Night Live would be on, but she would be like,
she's like,
if they do Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, wake me up, that is hilarious. And we would be like, D, it's Mr.
With Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, with Eddie Murphy. And it would just be like, or then him and Joe Piscopo would do
Frank
Gumby.
Sinatra.
Well, Frank Sinatra and Stevie Wonder, but yeah, that was great. That was so funny. But they would do Gumby and the horse.
The horse. Pokey?
Was it Pokey?
Gumby and Pokey? Yes. When I'm Gumby,
damn it. Jesus, Pokey, something crawl up you and die. Anyhow, they were just
well, and for my topic, I'm not going to discuss this, but because I picked something else. But I did have, thinking that exactly to your point. Like on Saturdays, Dee would go to bed early, and we would watch Benny Hill.
Oh yes.
Oh my, which was so not age appropriate for us.
Not at all, but so like funny, like I don't know.
So funny.
Yeah.
And Three Stooges.
Oh, which are great.
That you can't find. Every once and again I see him on like some classic channel, but Benny Hill you don't see at all anymore.
And Benny Hill, I think, was like on PBS or something.
Yeah, I mean, he was... So, going back to my friend Sarah, who lives in England, her uncle, who was also in acting, actually knew Benny Hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so what is that? 7 Degrees of Benny Hill, Kevin Bacon? But anyway... Yeah. I was thinking about all that stuff, like how Dee would go to bed early and we stay up to like 1 or 2 a.m. watching these things on TV.
Yeah. And so just so, well, our mom, one of the 3 listeners would know this, but the other 2 listeners, our Aunt Dee was our great aunt, and Laurie and I would go there on the weekends, and then our youngest sister, Amy, would occasionally stay with us, but most of the time she actually went to our grandma Barb's.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
And actually, I was just, when I was out making our drink, I was thinking about Grandma Barb. And like, so I mentioned you showed up today and you had that gin from Distillers of Surrey. And I was like, oh, I am so happy about this because I find when I have it, I'm super stingy with it because I know I can't get it. And so I always like when I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a gin and tonic. And I look at that and I'm like, man, I really want that. But if I drink it all, I can't, I don't know when I'm going to get it back because I can't go buy it myself. But I'm like, this is going against the advice I gave Grandma Barb. So like years ago, Grandma Barb, who is our mom's mom, would always have a drinky winky, as she called it, around.
I say that to my friends. It's drinky winky time. They're like, where is that from? Oh, I love telling that story.
Yeah. And she'd always have it like around 4:30, and it was just like, I think it was just like a vodka tonic with lime. Mm-hmm. So, but she always drank like, I don't know, like 5 o'clock or like not great vodka. So one year for her birthday, I can't remember, she turned, I don't know, 75 or 78 or something. I bought her Kettle One. Because that was like the vodka I discovered that I really liked.
Yes, because at the time, like that was...
Yeah, so I got her like Kettle One. Gave it to her for her birthday, and I don't know, we ended up back at her house for something. And if you remember, she had that little liquor cabinet, and she used to have that M&M's back in there, but she had the little liquor cabinet.
Oh my God.
And I look in there, and I'm like, she hasn't opened this yet. And she had it for like a month or more at like this point, and I go into the kitchen, I'm like, Grandma, you haven't tried that Kettle One yet. And she's like, oh, honey, I'm saving it for a special occasion. And I'm like, Grandma, you woke up today. That's a special occasion. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, try this. It's super good. Like, what are you doing? And then thinking back, I'm like, I just need to like down that bottle. Like, I really like it. What am I doing?
What are you doing?
Because my luck, I'll get like hit by a bus on my stupid bike. And then I'm going to be like up in heaven. I'm like, I got a good bottle of gin. 3/4 bottle of gin down there that I should have had. So anyhow, I was just thinking about that when I was prepping for our show today.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to like follow my own advice better.
Right. No. 2 wonderful women in our lives.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely got spoiled by them. So, okay. Are you ready for round 2 of trivia?
Yes, I get to ask you the question.
All right, let's see. See how this goes.
Okay. Which cocktail consists of vermouth, gin, and orange bitters?
Vermouth, gin, and orange bitters. Shoot, I do not know this. So I'm just going to guess. A gimlet?
Dry martini.
There's
no way I would have guessed that.
I should have known that.
I'm glad I got the question I got.
I should have known that because we had to, with Drew in episode 6 we did martinis. I should have known that. That's my own stupid fault. Okay. Ugh. That's 2 in a row. I hate this stupid trivia. So.
Well, it's intimidating. I was listening to all the episodes, and I'm like, oh my God, how do we come up with this?
I'm killing the average lately. This is 2 in a row I've gotten wrong. So, okay. Are you ready for Off the Beaten Path?
Yes.
All right. Well, we talked before the show, and I will go first today. Yes. So, my selection today is perhaps my favorite book of all time. I'd have to say. So I'm going with a book today, and the book is The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay.
Oh.
So it is by Michael Chabon. I always want to say Chabon because his last name is spelled like Chabon, but I believe it's Chabon. I listened on YouTube to see if I could get it right because I'm terrible, obviously, at pronouncing stuff. But and I feel a little odd about selecting this one because the book came out in 2000, and in 2001 it won the Pulitzer Prize for best fiction. But it's been 23 years since it came out, and you just don't hear people talking about it. So, but I love this book. I am 99% sure Jim introduced me to it. So our guest in episode 8. And sort of a real condensed gist of it is there's 2 cousins. One who gets out of Europe in 1939, just as the Nazis are really starting to take over. He's Joe Cavalier, and then he gets to the U.S. and meets his cousin, who is Sam Clay. They end up creating this comic book character called the Escapist, and the Escapist is basically fighting the Nazis. And Joe is trying to get the rest of his family out of Prague, if I remember correctly from the book. And then, if I remember correctly in the book, Sammy is the one who writes the stories, and Joe is a really good illustrator, and he illustrates them and stuff. And they end up creating this character. So the interesting thing in the book is you'll be reading it, and then there'll be a chapter, and the chapter is actually the comic book.
That's pretty cool.
So it's the Escapist and stuff, but it's just a really well-told story. But I love the way that he writes. I've read a lot of his stuff. I think there's a rhythm or a way of his writing that reminds me of F. Scott Fitzgerald's writing, with short stories, and I really enjoy those as well. But there's just something about the way he writes. But this book, between the writing and the story, it got to the point where, as I knew I was getting close to the end, I started slowing down the book reading because I was I don't want this to end.
Right.
Because I really like these characters. I'm so invested in this story.
For sure.
And I just love that book. So I can't recommend it enough. Now, it is, as most things as I have found that I enjoy in life, you've got to get through the first, 50, 60 pages, because initially it talks about Joe trying to get out of Europe, and it's kind of this long drawn out thing, and that part of it isn't super exciting, and it's a little slow, but once you get through that, it is so worth reading the rest of that book, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. I cannot recommend it enough. And so that is my selection.
Nice.
This episode for Off the Beaten Path.
Wow. So. That's pretty cool how they incorporate the comic book within. Yeah,
and then they ended up spinning off, and there's an actual comic now that you can get called The Escapist that he based on this, that he ended up working with some folks in the comic book industry, and they created actual comics around it.
Wow.
And you could go out and actually get the comic. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wow, that was really neat.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So do I go now?
That's typically how it works. Yeah. Unless you're I don't have anything, you want to wrap it up.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I was racking my brain, thinking Benny Hill or Three Stooges, or even Creature Feature on Saturday afternoons.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like with
Channel 50.
the old Godzilla or Rodan or
so good.
Swamp Thing,
Yes.
whatever it was that they did. But actually, so Todd and I recently came back from vacation.
Is this your most recent one to Tutoroo or whatever?
Also known as Tortola British version.
Okay, whatever.
Anyway, on one of the flights back to get home, we actually had movies that we could watch. And I saw Tom Hanks, A Man Called Otto, which I hadn't seen before. And great movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But it made me start thinking, like, okay, here is a guy who started off on Bosom Buddies.
I think that's how most people got introduced to him. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, Bosom, yeah. And I love that show. I mean, him and the other actor, Peter, I forget his last name. Anyway, I remember...
Bergman or something?
Something like, yeah. And loving that show. And of course, Tom finally, broke out into the film industry. I mean, he came out with Splash. He came out with Big. But it was all comedies, right? Mm-hmm. And, Turner and Hooch.
Yeah, that my college professor wrote.
Oh my God. Yeah.
He wrote Turner and Hooch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then, he did Sleepless in Seattle with Meg Ryan, which I love the fact that years later they did You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
Because those two so reminded me, like for our generation, like what was before, like the Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn type thing, right?
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah.
I mean, they just had great chemistry on screen, and all those.
Except they didn't actually end up marrying. Didn't those two actually get married?
Probably, I don't know. And I was always hoping that they would do another one, and they didn't.
Yeah.
But what got me thinking is that a director out there, and this is what I kind of love sometimes with the film industry, is up till this movie, Tom Hanks had only done comedies. And then all of a sudden, he was casted in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Totally dramatic, heavy topic about AIDS and discrimination.
Super serious movie.
And I remember actually initially thinking, like, what are they thinking? This guy's a comedian. Like, why is he being casted in this? And holy crapola, did he nail it. And then everybody noticed him. Like, what a great actor he is. I mean, after that, it was, Saving Private Ryan.
Just everything that came out.
Yeah, everything that came out after that was just amazing. And he is one of those, like, actors I tend to gravitate towards. Like, if I see a movie pop up, like it has Tom Hanks in it, I'm like, oh, I got to see this. And he doesn't just do dramatics, but he is just one of those great actors, I think, of our generation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing. Seems like Apollo 13 and everything he touched, Castaway. I mean, everything he touches.
Well, he was just in, up for Best Picture this year, Elvis, he played the Colonel.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw part of that.
But he's kind of like the bad guy in that. And you normally don't associate him with, the bad guy.
Yes, because he's usually, like, the Boy Scout in the movie. I mean, like, he played, like, even in Saving Private Ryan, he was, like, a good, like, protecting my team, and he played Mr. Rogers. He was Mr. Rogers.
Oh, you're right. He did play. Yeah. And that was a really good movie, too.
Yep. So he's just one of those who went from one genre and successfully, like, went to another,
Yeah. He's had...
solid...
An amazing career.
Yeah. Amazing career.
So, real quick, what was the movie he's in now? It's A Man Called Otto?
Yeah, okay. That's the one I saw.
So this is a remake of... It was a book by this author. Yes, a book by this author. Oh, I knew it was a
book, yes. Yeah.
Who is from Sweden, and I've read a number of his books. And this is so going to bother me that I cannot think... I'm going to look it up right now while I'm talking. But he... it's based on a book called A Man Named Ove. It's Swedish, and they turned that into a movie. And so I've seen the original, like, Swedish version.
Oh,
yes.
How neat. Okay, I didn't realize it was a Swedish movie before.
But that author is Frederick Bachman. That is the name of the author. And he has a lot of good books. I read this trilogy. The first one is called Beartown, and it's about these... It's sort of about these, like, hockey teams, these rival hockey teams. And it's a trilogy, and that's, like, a well done. He has a book called Anxious People that I think got turned into a movie or a miniseries. But his books have a really interesting pattern to them.
Yeah.
I can't really describe it well just because you just mentioned this, but I'm super familiar with his stuff. Like, I really enjoy his books and everything. So I would definitely recommend checking out A Man Named Ove, Anxious People, or Beartown, which is the first of this trilogy. And if you like that trilogy, I'd read all three. I've read all three, and they're all good. Yeah, but it's kind of funny that you
because I enjoyed the film, and of course Tom Hanks, did wonderful as he always does. But he's one of those, I would put him in like a level above most actors, because there are so many times, like as a film motion picture viewer, it's not very often that you get like completely pulled into the movie, like where you're like,
just
that's
engrossed in the story.
Yeah, it's not Tom Hanks anymore. It is whatever character. And I think one of his best moments that epitomizes that is in the movie Captain Phillips. Like after his crew is saved and they're doing like this health check on him to make sure he's physically okay, and he just starts having an emotional breakdown. And during that movie, you're just like, oh my God, that's not Tom Hanks anymore. that's the guy.
Yeah, he just embodies those characters. Yeah.
So super, and for an actor, so many times I think actors are stereotyped into certain roles, and he's one that clearly broke through between comedy and drama. I think he could probably do anything, really. But another actor that comes to mind is Robin Williams. Right? Yeah. I mean, he started out Mork and Mindy.
Yeah. Nano.
And ended like, Dead Poet Society, Good Will Hunting. And that man was just brilliant. I mean,
yes.
I love watching interviews with him because he never sticks to the script. He goes off on crazy tangents, and his brain is just going a mile,
his brain could operate at a speed that most people can't.
I mean,
like,
when
he could just like...
Yeah, when he used to host the Academy Awards, I mean, he would, I don't know, brilliance. So, like, yes. That's another actor, in my mind, that, like, clearly transitioned from one genre to the other, like, seamlessly, and...
So just so I can peg it right when I like put a little thing on Instagram, is your off the beaten path topic, is it the movie Philadelphia, or is it this unknown actor people haven't heard of named Tom Hanks?
The unknown actor known as Tom Hanks.
I'm just teasing you. So, no, that's great. Yeah. No, that was good.
Well, and when directors can see that, right? Can see that there's something there that no one yet has like extracted out of that actor. I think Quentin Tarantino is a great director who like doesn't like pulls actresses in that are completely different than what we've seen them do before,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he can see something that
Uma Thurman kicking ass.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So as I was watching that film with Tom Hanks, Man Called Otto, I was just kind of reflecting on like, wow, what a career he has had.
Yeah.
And somebody that I thoroughly enjoy watching,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad you could introduce him to people.
I know, because he's like so unknown, and man, he's done all these like B movies, and I don't know. Hopefully he gets.
And is it Hanks? Is that how people could find him?
I think so. And I think it's Tom, not Thomas.
Oh, okay. All right. Good to know. 1M? I'm just teasing. That was a great one. So, Well, terrific. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, just that I've thoroughly enjoyed these Scottish gins, and
yeah, they were tasty, and there's definitely other
and can't
really
wait to try the 1918 other ones that come with each distillery.
Oh, no kidding. That'd be amazing. So, great. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, if you have gin recommendations or any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us on our Instagram account at the Botanical Trails. Otherwise, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to subscribe to us on whichever platform you listen to your podcasts. Also, I want to take a quick minute to thank Darin VanderMolen for all of his help behind the scenes. Without him, this podcast probably wouldn't even exist, and his help is greatly appreciated. Hope you have a great week, and we will look forward to seeing you the next time we go down the botanical trails. This has been a Shits and Giggles production.